morning, everybody. Welcome to Signature Sales Meeting. Super excited to see you all as I missed last week. Unfortunately, I was out at the State Board of Directors meeting. Most fun you can have in 8 hours of your day. If you believe that, you should join the board. Okay, so we've got some exciting things going on today, and we're going to start off with something we haven't done in quite some time. I'm pretty excited to have Joe, is it Tim? With Pulte Homes here to share a little bit about some of the new home developments that are here in our area. So let's give it up for the new home builder.
All right, thank you. That was quick. All right, everybody. So in just a few minutes, I wanted to kind of go through a couple of things about Rainbow Crossing Luxury. That's over where I am right now. So I put on there a map of the community for you. Everything that's a race car is something that's a quick move-in home. I have things coming available by the end of the year. Things coming in about 8 months, things coming in 10, things coming in 12. So do all of you do stuff with new home builders at one time or the other?
We hope so.
All right, good. So we're kind of going the direction everybody else is right now. It's going to be all spec all the time. That's kind of the direction we're going. All the specs are going to be done right to the perfect level of the neighborhood. So they're not the most expensive in the neighborhood, not the least expensive. They're all going to be just perfectly par. Picking out all the options that they would have chosen anyway. Just we know our take rates on each thing is about 90-some%, so that's everything that we put in all the different specs. If you have anybody looking for something really quick, I do have a couple of leftover homes from communities that have closed out already. So if you have something in that high 500s range, let me know and I can give you a list of everything I got available. All of those, this is the part that you guys will like. So we never wavered from this. We did it the entire time that everybody else was saying we don't need realtors. We've been 3% across the board the whole time.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Had nothing to do with the donuts he brought.
Nope, not that. You can afford a lot of donuts with that much. And then on some of those quick move-in homes I was just telling you about, we do have a 4% broker co-op on those. Oh, and as everybody knows, everything's changed a bunch in the last couple of months, so it's not really just here's the price, take it or leave it anymore. We're working with people, so we'll make things happen for you. But a lot of information about the community in here. There's no SIDs, no lids, no master association. It's not a gated community. HOA is $45 a month. Right there on Rainbow, so everybody loves that area, which is just perfect. And then I put a copy of each one of the floor plans in there and each one of the elevations, what the homes will look like. So if you were to call me and say, hey, I have somebody looking for something that's about 3,000 square feet, what do you have? Then I can say, hey, I have this one, this one, this one, and you'll be able to reference this and take a look and see. I promise not to take too much time, so anybody have any questions that I can perhaps help out with? Right about 4,200 on the lots.
Can we register online or is that in person?
So if you guys would, everything about me is right here on this. If you would, shoot me a text with your email, and then if ever you're gonna send somebody over, maybe you can't be there, so that you don't get left out of the whole deal, shoot me a text, give me a call, an email, whatever, say, hey, I have people coming, but I have another showing, whatever it is today, so that I can still register you together with them. Has anybody not been to the community before? All right. Okay, well, stop by and say hello whenever you're out running around, all right? Oh, anybody else with questions? All right. Okay, thank you all very much.
Give it a Joe.
Okay, so real quick, any new wants and needs, any new listings that you'd like to talk about? Any at all? Always guy in the back. Hold on, just go. Smoke it, you got him. Just kidding.
I had mentioned this one before, it's still incoming soon, but the tenant will be out this Friday. It's in excellent shape. I know the owner, $499, one story, 1,900 square feet in Silverado Ranch.
Very cool. Roya.
Okay, so we have a two-story house on Rainbow and Warm Springs. We just reduced the price from $425 to $388. 999. And we've already gotten lots of calls, but it's a really nice place, it's a really nice house, and we need to sell it in 7 days, so no pressure.
7 days?
7 days. That's a long story. Come see me afterwards. We'll talk about it. But let's get it sold. It's really nice. It's a Warren Springs and Rainbow, and it's like right here, 2-story, 3 bedrooms, nice little courtyard, kind of. End of a cul-de-sac.
Sounds like
Yes.
you're moving, huh?
Yeah, we might be moving again.
Anything on that land in front?
It's still around.
Still in front.
It's still around. But we have a home at Fort Apache and Sunset. It's on 9632 Abbey Pond Ave. 2,275 square feet with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a loft. Listed at $569,900. It's really nice.
Very cool. Anybody that I missed?
Who here would like some property on the other side of the dam in Arizona? I'm not talking flood level, I mean like up on a plane. So I have a client, I'm going to be putting it on RMLS. There's a co-broker deal between Arizona and Nevada they have 200 acres, and it's as cheap as $2,500 an acre. You can break them up into, you could save that for your kids someday. I'll give you more information.
How do you get all these odd
Don't ask me
listings?
questions.
So we've got one coming, it's 1,300 square foot in Spring Valley, completely remodeled. It's about a 9,000 square foot lot, single story, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 car garage. It'll go on at 400,000 on the 6th.
Just a quick show of hands, who here in the last 30 days has done a price reduction on their listing? Okay. Does that mean the market's crashing? No, it just means that values are getting better, right? So don't freak out, it's okay, it's okay. So next up we have Shelly. Shelly, you're doing the mortgage moment with Shelly at Prosperity, is that what I hear? And you're cooking with gas, that's what they tell me.
I'm cooking with gas.
That's what he said. Todd, so you're giving away gas cards.
Oh, yes, I'm gonna wait till the very end though.
Oh, okay.
How many of you guys took a selfie? Yeah, those are the winners, okay. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about fishing in a different pond, because the one thing that we keep seeing is that down payment assistance programs are gone, and so it seems like our first-time home buyers are having a hard time affording homes today. So I want to open up a different option for you for our self-employed borrowers. How many of you have run into our self-employed borrowers who've asked you if they could qualify with no tax returns? Few of you guys maybe have had that situation? Yeah. So we actually have a new program. It is a bank statement only. So right off the presses actually. So 680 minimum FICO score, 10% down. And you can use 1 year or 2 year bank statements. They ultimately will take the deposit. So they do have to be showing actively employed and earning income inside of their bank statements. Employed for 2 years as a self-employed business owner. And so that is they also can do, they can also do cash out refinances using bank statement programs. So for your clients who are also self-employed who may own a home today and maybe they want to cash out of their property and they want to use that for other investment properties, this would be a great program for them as well. They'll do interest only. You guys all remember interest only? I know, but we're requiring 20% down at least on those interest only. Also 40-year terms. Have you guys heard? The 40-year term. So they were coming out for modifications. They are out for modifications. We do have an opportunity specifically through this investor to do a 40-year term and a 30-year interest-only term. So it'll help to get more buyers qualified utilizing this, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it is something for the bank statement program. 20% down was something of the norm. Right now we actually have it up to 10% down. 1 million for a minimum FICO score of 680 and then $1.5 million at 700. Jason. They do not. They do not charge mortgage insurance on that as well. Yeah, so sometimes we gotta look in different places, right? If we're unable to get our clients in for the first-time home buyers. Not to say that you don't want to keep working with your first-time home buyers, but if you do have opportunities for your self-employed borrowers, we do have a program for you. All right, who's ready for our gift cards? Was it you or was it Jeff Davenport that did it?
Jeff did it for sure.
Yeah, okay. So Estrella is not here. She won $100. She did all three actually, all three bureaus.
Sounds like an inside deal to me.
all three social media platforms, and then Christina. I'm going to toss that to you. All right, and then Luis. Yay! And then Todd. And, wait, I hope this is right. Okay, Jeff Davenport. I know he usually watches it online from Henderson. Jeff Davenport. So we got Estrella, Christina, Luis, Jeff Davenport, and Jeff Davenport. That's it. That should be it. Yep, all right. Thank you guys. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so today I have our amazing broker panel that's here. Give it up for this good-looking broker panel. Before we get to the questions that we had from our Facebook questions and our broker questions that we've gotten in, does anyone have like an amazing question or a good question or just a question that we could start with that you have on a broker topic, market topic, anything at all before we jump into what we've got? Wow. I love it. We have one right here.
With the new water allocation laws, like I was at the lakes, and they're pulling up all the grass for the CCNRs, does anybody know about like Lake Sahara or the duck ponds or how severe this is going to get by 2026? And do we disclose that to buyers that are looking?
That is a good question. I just want to repeat it so that everyone, if you didn't hear it, it was about water and about the changes that they have in the new state law that came out that said they're going to have to take out, is it any non-functioning or non-usable grass? Have you heard about grass?
Yeah. So, you learn a lot when you go to the Political Affairs Committee meetings.
Thanks, Janet.
And Patty's chair. And we had a speaker from the Southern Nevada Water Authority. And he said something fairly interesting before I get to your question. He said, are you one of those people that brushes your teeth and leaves the water running? Are you one of those people that shaves and leaves the water running? That's okay. Because all that water is going down and it's being recycled and reused. What is not okay is the irrigation in your yard. And so if you drive downtown center, most of the time it's down to 2 lanes because they're taking out all that grass and all those beautiful plants that used to be in the roundabouts, and they're putting in rocks and drought-resistant plants. Now, he did cover the fact that the grass is going to be gone and replaced with desert landscaping. But he did not address things like the pond there at Lake North and yeah, that whole area, the big ponds with the ducks.
Now they've got a lot of grass around it, and, you know.
Well, it's going to, according to him, it will be coming out.
So I didn't go to political affairs, sorry. But I did get some information, and I do some land and land development deals, and one of the things that scared the hell out of me was the issue with custom homes, is if you have a septic system, that's unreclaimable water, not that you want it back. But they're looking at trying to take up all 15,000 septic systems in Southern Nevada because of the amount of water that they consume. And so, of course, there'd be some type of program that they put out there. But what they're also looking at doing is eliminating the ability to put septic in on a custom home or a home site where you have a lot. And there are some city ordinances where you already can't do that. You have to connect to sewer. And so what scares me about the whole point is the sheer fact that you brought it up and we've discussed it means under reasonable skill and care that I should know what the plans are. And all I know right now is that they're looking for any way they can to take up grass that's non-functioning. Now, the joke in the group that I was in was if I put a park bench on the grass in some area, I've now made it functioning. And so I'll be selling park benches on the side of the road if any of the HOAs need it, but that's the concern. And so if I'm with a homeowner and they're looking at a property, and I'll give you a good previous example, Desert Shores, right? What was beautiful about Desert Shores is all of the pine trees and the lush grass and the lakes, and where's the grass at? You ripped it all out. right? They got a massive incentive from the water district. They ripped out all of the grass and desert shores as much as they could. And so if that was one of the things that attracted my buyer to that community, then I should at least bring up the fact that they're looking to conserve water for the benefit of everybody. And I'm just letting you know this. You may want to, contact the HOA and get more information, things like that. But
One of the houses there that was for sale backed up to one of the nicer gun parks, and that's what they wanted. And I immediately know that they're gonna be ripping the grass out, so I disclosed it to them just to be safe, and they obviously didn't want the property, and I just didn't know how far they were gonna go with that. Because, Queens Ridge, that whole back end of the golf course is all,
grass.
it's all gone.
Yeah.
People take a premium for it, so.
Well,
Crazy.
so that is actually in your notice of buyer disclosure. And I'm gonna assume that the water issue is also gonna be on that buyer's notice disclosure. So if you've got buyers that are looking at property, I recommend that you always have them sign that, because that's sort of like a CYA, tells them about everything that's happening within our industry or within, just in Las Vegas. We did have somebody from Southern Nevada Water District here at our other office back in October, November, I think, I want to say. And they provided us information. So going back to Janet's point, all of the water that's in your home does get recycled, but that doesn't mean you leave the water on as you're brushing your teeth, because you form habits. So don't make it a habit to leave the water on, even though it does get recycled. One of my best friends works at the water district. We've had numerous conversations about how much water is left, and with knowing that there's other businesses that are looking at Nevada, because we're a business state, right? I mean, it is an advantage for a business to move here since we don't have state income taxes. It is important to know what the changes are going to be for water, right? That's one of the biggest questions they ask every single time. Are you guys going to run out of water? Does Nevada seem like a good place to go? The answer is yes, we have enough water. We've got several years worth of water. It's not like California. I went and visited my family this weekend, and they gave me a bucket to take a shower, and I was like, I'm not in India, even they have running water. And so it was like, that's not gonna happen. But they are being very careful, and I think for us, it's a matter of making sure that your clients are well aware of what's happening, that they are staying in front of it, educating them about how to be better consumers of water. An option, and we talked about this when we had the water authority here, is to get them, the irrigation system, like the ones that are on your phone, get that as a closing gift for them, so that you can start having that conversation. There's also pamphlets that they provided us. I believe they're still out there that you can provide to every single one of your clients. I'll make sure that we are always have these pamphlets available so that you can put them in your packets for your clients when you do your relocation guides, or you talk to them about what's happening here.
Just an add-on to that, now I know if you do the $3 a foot for your front yard in Joe Desert, that goes on title, right?
So when you do that, yeah, there's actually an easement that shows up on title when you have a credit from the water authority. And that's fine. If somebody ever wants to convert it again, like for a pool or something, they can pay a bond. And I'm going to tell you now, if they're going to convert it back to grass, the chances of that happening are probably slim to none. But there is an easement that goes on the property. So if you've got a buyer, and I talk about this in a lot of my classes, but if you have a buyer that's looking to put in a pool because it's a beautiful backyard, have that conversation. Make sure that there's not an easement on the property, because the time that they find out that there is after they've already built the pool with their pool guy, and the guy's or girl, and they're going out to go get permits. And by then, you're the one that's in trouble. So make sure you're checking those title, prelims.
Can you just take out the front grass?
You can do portions, yeah. So you can have them do only segments, and so there's actually a map for that easement that says, hey, this portion cannot be grass again. So yeah, and they provide a pamphlet that nobody ever reads to the homeowner. So
I would just ask that you don't be the authority. There is a water authority, and it's not you. Okay, you're a real estate agent, you're a broker, you're not the water authority. So if somebody has extensive questions about what are they going to do, when are they going to do it, what is this going to look like, that's not a question you should be answering. You should be directing them to somebody else or some other place like the water authority to get the answers to those questions.
And I want to emphasize something that Vonda just kind of touched on, and that is, it's in your preliminary title report. Read your preliminary title report. If you don't know how to read it and you don't know how to understand it, your first-time home buyers don't have a clue. It's your job to go through it with them. And if you don't know how, I've had, since we opened the doors, probably 15 classes on how to read a preliminary title report, and I'm lucky if 3 people show up.
Can't read. It's also on YouTube. There's a video on YouTube about it too.
How to read
We
it?
recorded it. Yeah, we recorded a prelim class during
Oh.
COVID. It was through Zoom, so that's on
But
YouTube.
that's your first source of information, and you will get that before you close on your property. And your job is to go over it with your clients.
Good stuff. Thank you for the question. Really great question. It's like, I couldn't have given you a better question for it to be such a great question.
And we're out of time for other
Yeah.
questions. So.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this first one, and again, I get, well, yeah, go ahead.
On the line of water and vegetation, I did hear also, I did read also that Las Vegas has a plan for 2050 to plant like 60,000 trees to cool the atmosphere. I wondered if you'd heard of that.
So we were in a water presentation, I think it was at the Board of Realtors, and they talked about all of the different things that they're going to try to do to counteract the shortage that we have, or the drought that we're in. I heard the one that Rhonda has talked about where they bank 10 years of water in California. I've never seen a water bank, but that's got to be an interesting thing. Just like the movie Dune, huh? But I have not heard of the third of 60,000 trees. But I do know that if you go to either one of those resource pages, they will give you everything you've ever wanted to know about water. You could drown yourself in information. That was funnier, and you'll watch that when it comes back later.
That was funny.
Okay, so we had a comment come up on the Facebook page, and this is something that I really want to drive home, and some of these we've talked about before, but if they're still getting talked about, it means that no one got it. And so the question was, the difference between commission and reimbursement, and what has to go to who. And so I'm going to ask the brokers because they've seen it as well, but first off, if you are a property manager with this company, and you have properties at all, you should not be taking administrative fees or application fees directly to yourself. If any of that money is considered commission because you're making money running the application, that must flow through the brokerage. NRS 645.28, I sound like Aldo, says that if you receive any real estate commissions by law, they have to go through the brokerage. And so if you're ever unsure of what's commission, what's not, please reach out to one of the brokers, they'll tell you. But all of those checks should flow through here so that you're compliant with that. Does that make sense?
Also, be very careful, even if you're not a property manager and you're doing
You should
what
be
you
taking
call a courtesy listing, what we call tenant placement. If the landlord is saying, hey, I'll go ahead and take the fee and they can Venmo it to me directly, that's between the landlord and the tenant. You should never collect that fee for them and then pass it on. Does that make sense?
It does, because now you have all the liability of what happens.
You understand.
I get it. One of the other things I got asked the other day, and this is a great question, my owner of my property just bought it, they're buying it to flip, and they're out of town and they haven't gotten to town yet. And their contractor's ready to go, and I'm gonna get the listing when it lists, and they just need someone to turn on the power, so get it on right away so that they can get the property started. And you know what, they're gonna reimburse me for the power bill, and I'm gonna have it in my name, and they're gonna send me a check. Number one, I'm gonna tell you, could you do that? Yes, you actually could. Should you do that? You probably shouldn't, because you're gonna get burned for that power bill, I can tell you at some point. And it's gonna leave some bad blood between you and your client. But there's a difference between a direct reimbursement, where you give them a copy of the bill, the payment that you made to it, and you say, hey, I paid this, you could receive that money as a direct reimbursement. I've talked to the real estate division about it, I've talked to 5 real estate commissioners about it, they all agree that that could be allowable. But they also all agree that you could be in major liability if anything goes wrong. What happens when you turn on power to house? The lights come on, all of the buttons start to work, right? What happens if something was left on that didn't work and it now is burning up, like the bathroom fan? Do you know that a bathroom fan left on could burn down a house? And so my whole point to you is that every time you do something like that out of the goodness of your heart, that's usually where you get sued and something bad happens. So please, please, please be cognizant of the risk that you take just to help someone save $50.
I was going to say where we see this happen the most often is the HOA resale package.
Yes.
Or the demand is where agents say, hey, we're going to go ahead and pay for it because the seller doesn't have the money today, but we'll take it from and get reimbursed from closing costs or from closing proceeds. And that's okay too, right? It's on the HUD, and I think that,
Should
to
flow
me,
through
it
escrow.
should flow through escrow, yeah.
Guys, don't do it. I mean, seriously, why would you put your license? I mean, there's so many different scenarios, like the HOA thing. Yeah, that's pretty common, right? But turning power on, collecting money because they're gonna send you money so you can pay the contractor, and you get the check because it's in your name, and you put it in your account, and then you go give it to the contractor, and something goes wrong.
You can't do that, by the way.
I know you can't
Okay.
do that, but it's so easy
not
to
that
do.
Not that you
So
shouldn't, you
I'm
can't.
going to tell you not to do anything that has money related to it. There's just no reason to do it. Just let your clients handle their money. Don't touch anybody else's money, and you can keep your license forever. It's when you start doing those things that comes into question.
When in doubt, ask broker.
When in doubt, don't do it.
So I want to talk about the HOA reimbursements because this actually just came up in a broker issue we had. So if you do take that on yourself, and I have some agents that do it as a customer service factor, that they just do it as part of the process, you should have something in writing that instructs you from your client that says, yes, I give you permission to order this package, and I understand the parameters of what you're ordering it to provide to the client on the buyer on the other side, because when the deal falls out, they get amnesia on any of the fees and costs. And it's not like I'm gonna become a bill collector and go after them for the package, but if I have a property with 2 HOAs and I ordered them both on rushes, I'm talking about $800 to $900 in HOA packages. So you wanna definitely make sure that you have something in writing that said that, because now you've obligated them to reimburse you for $900. And if you don't have something in writing, how likely are you gonna get your reimbursement? Right, that's a little scary. You should probably make sure that that's somewhere in an email.
I've been in this business for 20 years. I did it one time and never again.
You said you'd forget about that.
I know. That was it. Never
All
again.
right, the next question, this is a great question. When holding an open house, what suggestions do you have for preparation? What should the buyer or prospective buyer see when they walk through the door?
I feel like this is an opportunity for me to talk about my open house class that I have.
Sure, why
It's
not?
a CE class. I don't know when I'm going to be teaching it, but I will.
Well, this is about you, so go ahead.
Because I talk in that class, I literally talk to you about how to prepare for the open house, what to do at the open house, what to do after the open house, and it's 3 hours of just information on how to prepare, how to make sure that it's successful, how to make sure that you're productive, how to make sure that you're getting clients out of it. We've had agents who have taken that class. One of them just got a listing from it. It was 2 years ago that she actually went to, did an open house, stayed in touch continuously, got that listing this week. There was another one of my agents got a buyer from an open house. Funny enough, she sold the property to the buyer of one of my listings that I had already sold. It was the craziest thing because I saw the commission instructions and I was like, wait, I sold this house already. And she said, yeah, I got a buyer from the open house and they rebought it after the flip. Is that crazy?
Crazy.
Yeah, but that was from the open house and that was less than 6 months ago. So it works if you do it right. What are the suggestions? It's a 3-hour class.
Cliff notes.
When are you gonna teach it?
I don't know, I put it on my calendar for July 8th and then Lois said she already had a full calendar. Should I just do it on July 8th at 10 o'clock?
No, July 8th is the general membership.
Oh, just kidding then,
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, so here's what I'll tell you about open houses. Here's what I tell every brand new agent that sits at my desk and asks me what they should be doing about open houses. I challenge them to go to 5 open houses. Just randomly drive through town, see an open house sign, and go to that open house. That's all I want you to do. It's super simple, right? It's so simple that you won't go do it, but let me tell you that you should do this. What will you learn when you go to these 5 open houses?
What to do and what not to do.
There you go. What to do and what not to. You're going to walk into one and go, wow, this is horrible. I'm never going to do it like this. And then you're going to walk into one and go, I better take some pictures because this is fantastic, right? So you're going to learn what to do, what not to do. And there's really only one way to learn it, and that's experience it. You need to experience what the buyer experiences when they walk through the door. You need to do the same thing. Overachievers will go to 10. Great, go to 10. But go to at least 5. Random, not people that you know. Like if someone in the company that you know is doing one, that's not the one you want to go to. You're going to some random open house that you don't know the agent, you don't know what's going on there. You'll be amazed at what you learn when you walk through that door.
So I'm going to give you a few tips that I've learned in my years at horrible open houses. So first off, I was driving home this weekend from the grocery store, and I noticed an agent holding an open house, and I actually knew the agent that was listed on the sign. I thought that was the agent at the house. And there's a major intersection with, it's the Grand Teton and I think it's El Capitan, so it's got a major thoroughfare, there's freeways on each side, and there's one open house sign. And it's in the middle of one place and it's pointing in one direction, but that's the only sign. You have 7 to 8 interchanging lanes of traffic, and the only thing they can see is one sign. Do you think I'm gonna wreck my car trying to figure out where that thing's pointing? No, and what would have been a good idea is to have 4 or 5 signs around the intersection so that every thoroughfare of traffic could see where your open house was. And then curiosity got me, like Todd said, so I drove a little bit further, and there's no other signs.
Oh my God.
It just pointed in that direction, and so someone had obviously taken, or the sign had blown over, or whatever had happened. But it's the stupidest thing in the world to hold a 3-hour open house and not tell anyone that it's happening, right? Anyone ever go to a garage sale on the weekend? What would happen if you got to the house and the garage was shut and there was nothing out in front? Would you stop? That's what I see all the time with agents that hold open houses. They have the house and there's nothing out in front. The door's not even open. And I know what you're saying, it's 110 outside, I can't leave the door open. It's not your AC, right? I would tell my seller, do you want to sell the house this weekend? And they're gonna say, of course I do. Well, we need to leave the door cracked, and I know that that's a weird thing, and my grandfather would slap me for thinking about it, but we've got to leave the door cracked so that it invites them to come into the house. Or I've got to get a really big sign on the garage that says, please come in. Because if they pull up there and it doesn't look like anyone's there, do you think they're gonna walk into the house or come up to you? The answer's no. And so for years, I used to put my open house table in the kitchen because it was close to the food and the fridge and my water and everything else. And then I realized that no one came that far, and so I put it in the entryway. If you were in the garage and you open the garage and you put your table in the garage, even better. Because it gave me plenty of security. I knew I could, get out of the way if something happened. But just think about, like Todd said, what is the buyer seeing when they come up to your open house? And the other thing is, like a fly to a spider's web. Your whole goal is to keep that buyer, I don't mean lock the door, but keep that buyer interested so that you can talk to them, so you can get the opportunity to sell them on what? You, not the house, you. You are the commodity for sale, not for sale, don't take that weird. You are the commodity that they are viewing at that property to see if you're the right person to help them buy a home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I've been to V's class, and she talks about all of that in detail. So definitely check that out.
So like 2 really good hints is if you're holding an open house and you're not the listing agent, make sure you get the listing agent to put that open house in the MLS.
Yes.
Like that's a #1 priority, right? Because that shows up on Zillow and Realtor.com and all the other places. And then go on Facebook and create an event for your open house. Okay, if you can do those 2 things, you can generate people to come in. If you can go visit businesses in the area and give them copies of your open house flyer and invite them, win. If you can go to the neighborhood and invite them for the open house for the weekend, win, or weekday, or whatever it is that you're doing it, that's a win. So just these little things, we'll get into it in the class.
I want to add one last thing, because this is, it's so simple that you should do it. When you get permission from another agent that isn't yourself to hold an open house, make sure that you get in writing that they give you their permission. I don't care if it's your best friend or someone here at the company, get their permission and confirm in writing from them that they told their client about it. I actually showed up to hold an open house, and the only person that knew was me, right? And the seller was pretty pissed, and the agent acted like they didn't know either and threw me under the bus. And this is a friend of mine, right? So make sure that you get that in writing, and ask them, are they planning any price reductions soon? I'm not talking about insider info, but at least you're asking questions because you're not the listing agent, right? This question came up on our Facebook page, and it's the best question I've seen for any of these meetings. I think it was Andrew that put it on there, and he said, can you please give me some tips for dealing with agents and clients that are extremely difficult, that won't talk to me, that cause problems in the deal, that let their ego get in the way? What tips do you have after your years of experience dealing with difficult people?
Well, I just yell at them, so I'll give us to Janet.
I just pester them. I email, text, phone call, until I get to talk to them, and then I'm very pleasant because you attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So acting towards them like they're acting towards you is not going to solve a thing.
So one of the things that I do if I can't get a hold of them is I send them an email, and then I send them a second email that says second request on the top. And then once I get to the second request, their broker gets attached to that email as a CC. And then for you guys, you can also CC us on it, and then there's a third request, and that says third request in the subject line. Again, brokers on both sides get notified so that if there's a problem, we can get involved and we know what's happening.
I like that you don't do that right off the bat, because
No.
I see a lot of agents, they're like, oh, you didn't say exactly what I want, I'm calling your broker.
Right.
Right? Does that, I don't want to say, does that shut you down when you hear that happen, but as an agent, wouldn't that kind of piss you off?
Yeah.
Right?
And the funny thing is when they're like, I am the broker.
Yeah,
Well, I hope he knows.
Yeah. You should tell your broker that you suck at this. But
Going on anything?
Well, I think that the biggest, adding the broker in always helps. Anytime someone sees their broker, it's amazing. They don't answer, they see their broker on an email, they call within 5 minutes. So unfortunately, you have to get to that point, right? And if they're just too difficult to deal with, one thing that I've learned is that the ones that are really hard to deal with and abusive, they always want to do that on the phone. They always want to be on a phone call. They always want to be saying things they shouldn't be saying or doing things they shouldn't be doing. And so I just request in writing, in an email with the broker attached, that all communication be done through email only, due to whatever maybe has happened. And so that puts their broker on notice that I'm done listening to their crap, and their broker will typically reach out and go, hey, what's going on here? Janet's right. It's you need to try to attract more bees with honey. Is that what you said? Flies
honey than vinegar.
and vinegar. My first reaction is to fire them. Like, I'm done. I'm over. Don't talk to me. If this deal gets done, it gets done. I don't care. That's not the right approach, right? So I always have to rethink that in a few minutes. I also think the one thing that we don't use to our advantage very often is silence. Silence will do the heavy lifting for you in many occasions, and even when you're dealing with an agent that's very difficult, if you don't respond right away, what we react is how we respond, and a lot of times that just fuels the fire instead of calms it. I find that if something's going sideways, I just won't do anything with it for 12 hours. I won't do anything with it till the next day. I'll just kind of let time put that fire out a little bit and then see if we can do a little better the next day. But you're going to run into them. It's part of the business. Get with your broker if it gets too hard to handle, and then we of course can make a phone call.
And if you're one of those people that wants to yell at someone and you want to do it by whatever, email or whatnot, have a throwaway letter, right? Go ahead and type it up so that it makes you feel good, and then throw it away. You never send it. Just don't send it, but you've written it out.
So for years, this is a personality trait that I'm guilty of. I go from fine, completely ludicrous. And I've tried very hard to change that about myself. I get it from my mother. So I took this class called 7 Habits, and it was a Franklin Covey course, and one of the habits in there is seek first to understand, right? Because a lot of times in our business, all of us are in different places in our life and things that are going on and personal things that are going on. And God forbid, you can't call in to this job. You can't call and say, hey, I'm not coming to work today, right? Because your client doesn't understand, the other agent doesn't care, the whole thing. And so a lot of times when they have this horrible attitude, my first thing is to apologize. I am so sorry. I'm sorry if I offended you. As a broker, I had to put aside my ego many times, and because one apology to another agent had a deal closed. Did I want to be right, or did I want to get paid? Right? And most of the time in my career, I wanted to be right, and I was willing to pay for it, right? But the whole point was, you do get more flies with honey, and so sometimes that apology, I actually had an agent that I said, I am so sorry that I did something to offend you. She broke down in tears, and she told me all of the horrible things that are going on in her personal life that had flooded into this deal. If I would have just gone back at her with a curt response the first time, what do you think? She would have shut down completely. And so I'm just putting it out there. It doesn't make it right the way that they treat you, but just make sure that you're at least giving them the opportunity to put it out there. Now, what I like about what Todd says, I give them a few opportunities where I'm really nice about it, and then I do put it in writing, and I convene a council of V's. She's the best emailer that I know in the business to put in facts and what's there. But when it gets that bad, you should stick to the facts, not the problem, right? Because me telling you all of the ways that you do the business wrong is still not gonna get the deal closed. But me highlighting the facts in the contract that your client signed are still the facts. I love that you can highlight something in yellow in our purchase agreement. And in some cases, I've never sent back like, hi, here's what I think, or hello. I've sent back that and nothing, not a thank you, not a signature line, just what they signed in the contract and that's it. And like V said, escalation. It's really important to bring in other people. You know, if Todd is the person I'm having the problem with, right, which never would happen, and we just can't get along because there's a personality conflict that we can't overcome, I've suggested to other agents, let's bring in somebody else to kind of mediate what's going on between us. That's better than letting the deal die. And how does any of this help your buyer or seller? It doesn't, right? So the whole point is we got to put aside our egos to get our client's deal done. And I think that's the whole thing. And then sue them later.
And under no circumstances, I don't care how long you've been in the business, do you respond with, I've been doing this for 15 years. Nobody cares.
Doesn't mean you've been doing it right that long.
That's right.
Well, and I think the whole piece is that, you know, what you put in writing at the end of the day is what will be in front of a group of people that will review it, right? And so you want to make sure that you're above reproach. And so that's why her emails are so great. I mean, I sit and
Did you
read
love my
them.
response to that lady for the property management?
I don't know that she'll ever type another email again. Okay, so this is the second question that was on our Facebook page, and this is an interesting one because I think people get very nervous about that. How many times is too many times to follow up with a client or a lead?
Until they die.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Well, for us, if it's a new lead and it's somebody that we've never met, so it's an internet lead, it's something that's come through social media, somebody has called and said, hey, call my friend, we have what we call our 777. So we text 7 times, we email 7 times, and we call 7 times. After those, well, yeah, we're from Vegas, right? I actually have 777 stamped on my putter, like it's a number that I use a lot. So if after 21 attempts, we can't get them to respond, we put them on some type of automated property search if they're a buyer, or a market report if they're a seller. And we let that do the work for us for a while. And then we'll reach back out after we have a system set up where it tells us when to reach out again. But I think you need to have a number. I can share a personal experience where I have an agent that I was coaching that the reason he got out of the business was because he was pig-headed about getting a hold of people who said they wanted to buy or sell, and he would never let it go. And he called them so many times and spent so much of his time calling, texting, and emailing these people who would never respond that he never did a deal. Right, so we had to move on to people. You have to get past people that won't respond on to people that will respond, and you have to have a limit to what it is. Ours happens to be 21. That's just, I made that up.
7 calls, 7 emails.
7 phone calls, texts, and emails.
Got it. No face-to-face.
Well, we don't know them, so we don't have
got
a
it.
face-to-face.
Okay, got it.
If we know them, then yeah, we would probably go right to face-to-face meeting.
7 stops at the house.
Maybe 7
Yeah.
gifts or something. But yeah, no, these are for people that we don't know, that we've never met, that we can't get a hold of.
Anything you want to add to that? Jen? Either one, go ahead.
Well, you just never know. Because I'm going to tell you another story like Todd just told you. I had a partner years ago, and we farmed a particular neighborhood. And then I had to move to Guam. I was gone for 2 years. And she did not continue farming that neighborhood. We sent out a newsletter once a month. Enter your clip here, years ago. Mail it back to us with all your information, and we'll enter you in a drawing. I had been back from Guam, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, just reactivated my license. And this lady that we'd had no contact with for over 2 years called and said, hey, I need you girls to come over and sell my house. You never know.
What I find interesting is email wasn't around 30 years ago.
That's true.
Right? Text wasn't around 30 years ago. Not in any form that we would actually use. And so 30 years ago, you had to either show up at the house or call them repeatedly through your party line until you actually got a hold of them. And so, I mean, that's pretty aggressive, right? What were we gonna add to that whole
I'm
point?
good.
You're good. I wanna add one thing to it, because I can, it's my meeting. I think Todd's right. If you continue on for forever, you're doing yourself a disservice, only if you're not prospecting. If you're out there prospecting every single day, and you're doing the things you need to do, that lead, if they're a viable lead, will come back across your desk if they're really worth it. And so if you're doing your 777s or your 10 days of pain or whatever it is, at the end of that period of time, right, take that lead and throw it away because it's not a viable lead, but keep prospecting it. If you're not prospecting and that's the only lead you got, well, hell, you better call it 3 or 4 times a day until it buys something, right? So good point. Ready? Go ahead.
Let me just say that I know in today's world, statistically, it takes 7 to 9 months from the first time somebody starts investigating buying or selling a house before they get serious about it. So if you've got leads that you got 6 or 7 months ago, those are the ones you should be 777 right now. Right, 7 to 9 months is the average time it takes somebody who started searching online before they actually get into action on buying or selling a house. So don't go, oh, that's an old lead, I don't worry about that. That's why we put them on a drip and on a system, because when they come back to our system, we re-energize and go 7 times again, or 21 times again.
That's why open houses work, by the way, because you started the process. On any of the things we've talked about so far, any questions that we didn't answer on them before I move on to the next set of topics? Everyone still here with me? Feeling good? Yep. Yeah, coffee's in the break room? Okay, this is interesting. I admittedly only have 2 real estate designations, and I was in, I'll grab your question right after. I was in a real estate class the other day with someone who has 18.
That's more than me,
Right?
maybe.
So the whole question is, should I or should I not get a real estate designation? And if so, which one should I start with?
I have a ton of them. So I actually started with RRG, and the reason I did RRG.
What's RRG?
RRG is the Risk Reduction Graduate, and that will basically help you make sure that you stay out of trouble. I really like that designation. I think it's great for agents. As a broker, I love to have agents in the company take the RRG designation, so that one's one of my favorites. And then by far, the best one, CRS.
Certified Residential Specialist.
Yeah, CRS. And it only gets taught maybe once, maybe twice a year. I think they just recently taught it, so the next one isn't going to be for a while, but that's a great designation. I mean, I have a ton of them. ABR, I mean, you name it, I probably have it. I have to look and see if I have 18 or more or less. Because I might. It is a competition.
You might not see her for a week.
Yeah. So,
Janet, tell us about designation, because you literally talk about education in most of these pieces. Tell us what you think of them.
Okay, so I never really was big on designations when I first started in real estate because my husband was in the military and I thought, I'll be here for 3 years and then I'll move on and who knows what I'll do the next time we move. But as it turned out, his career was, for the most part, join the Air Force and see Nellis. So then I started getting serious about maybe I need to get some designations. I do have RRG. My sphere of influence was the military. So I took that designation class. And then I took a, was it 3 or 4 day green certification class because the price was right. And I have to tell you, I no longer hold a green certification because when you get these certifications, for the most part, you have to pay yearly to maintain your certification. And I'll admit it, I am not basically a very green person. So after a couple of years, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not giving you guys any more money. I did just take it at home with diversity. I was very proud of the fact that when it was taught at the board that signature had like half the people in the class. It was really impressive. But that was special rate, it was only $40. I think they help, they focus you. And so now I'm going to go on and finish it so I can get my C2EX. I finished at home with diversity, I just have to finish up C2EX, which is the biggest deal from not only NVR but NAR. And then I have SFR, can I remember what that stands for?
Certified Residential.
No, F.
I have that too, so I can look it up.
It's okay.
Anyway.
She'll figure it out.
So yeah, but here's the thing, when you have all these designations on your card, does it mean anything to your client? Honestly, no. No, it really doesn't.
It's a lot to put on a business.
Does it mean anything to the agent on the other end? Probably so. It's an impressive thing. And there is such a thing, I totally believe in knowledge for the sake of knowledge.
So here's my 2 cents. Stick with what interests you, right? So if you have a certain part of the business that you really have a passion about, that you're moving forward in and you want to become a pro and learn more about it, I guarantee you somewhere they have a designation for it. Just ask me, because she's got 14 of them. Anything else you want to add on that? Anyone? Anyone going once or twice? Any questions on that? Yes?
The 7 text, emails, and phone calls for how long? 2 months?
How long does it take to do the 777?
We try to get them done within 10 days. Now these are all,
21 days, 777?
now these are only new leads within the first 10 days of getting the lead. These are not follow-ups. Once you make your first phone call to that new lead, it's no longer a new lead. It's now a follow-up lead. So we're doing 20 of our 21 follow-ups as follow-ups, not as new leads. Chris mentioned you got to continue to prospect. You can't just call these people that you're doing this on. You've got to add new people in every day. So we're starting that system with new people every day. That's our prospecting.
Just a show of hands, who here has a designation? Wow, quite a few people in the room. Very cool. Awesome.
The only thing I'll say about designations is if you're interested in getting them, don't wait to start taking them. Like he said, when should I start taking it? Literally, just take the next one that's available.
Yeah.
Just get started doing it. Annie?
I just wanted to put something else out there. With the designations, I have the CRS as well, and it is amazing for a referral network.
Yes.
I've gotten 2 leads off of, just recently, like in the last 2 months, I've gotten 2 leads off of.
So to repeat what Annie said is that she is a CRS and that she's gotten 2 leads from the designation. So a little bit of background on that. Because of the fact that you pay to be part of the designation group once you get all of the classes and they have benchmarks you have to go through, you're put in books and referral groups. So CRS has the CRS book, right? It hurts to get hit with it. It's a big book. And another example of that is WCR. WCR has a massive internal referral network. They have their PNN designation, and it's another great designation. And the whole point is you get referrals from these groups because you're participating. They're actually sending you business. I know my parents, I've done a few of the deals. They've been CRSs for a long time. I can't even remember how long it's been. You'll get that later too.
So, and I will tell you too what Chris just said about WCR. So, when we started this company, we did not really have a relocation department like we do now. And agents would come to me and say, I need to find an agent in Tacoma. I need to find an agent in Orlando. Well, if I didn't personally know one, and I don't know everybody in the country, I would pull up WCR, put in the town they were looking for, and I'd say, okay, let's pick 3.
Yeah.
And I'd say, don't pick this person, she didn't bother to put a picture in. And then we'd go through some more, and I'd say, don't pick this person because they don't have designations. So everybody in this company who came to me and asked for a referral for probably the first 7 or 8 years, they were all WCR agents. So.
Good point. Great point. Okay, so this question goes back to the time when you first got in the business, or maybe just a few years ago. With the opening of the Northwest office and the transitioning of everyone to their new locations throughout the company, do you suggest that I get an office and work from the office, and what would the benefits of that be?
Yes, you should get an office. I have 3 available in Great Valley right now. Happy to have it come show you those. Yeah, I think it's a personal preference. For me, I try to work from home when I'm at home. One thing that's been really important to me in real estate is life balance. I've really wanted to figure out a way that I could separate my personal life and not have to be a real estate agent 24/7. The very first thing that somebody said to me when I was in school to get my real estate license, The first thing the instructor said was, if you don't want to work on weekends, you should leave now. This is not a business for you. You're going to have to work on the weekends. And I was like, I raised my hand. I'm like, what do you mean? Why do I have to work on the weekends? He's like, well, it's just the nature of the business. So I made it my personal mission to not work on weekends. I don't work on weekends. I haven't worked on, not saying I've never shown a house on a weekend, but it's not a part of my calendar. Like, I don't schedule real estate activities on weekends. And I like to try to keep real estate separate from my personal life. And so when I tried to work from home, we'll take the pandemic as an example. I was forced to be at home, right? Well, guess what? I remodeled the stairs in my house while I was there. I redid some landscaping. I painted some things. I mean, I don't do real estate when I'm at home very well. That's my personal problem, not yours. So I think you should have an office. I think you should, at least if you don't have a designated office, I think you should come into the office and use some of the free drop-in space and be around the people who are talking about real estate, that are engaged in real estate. I mean, we have a big value in Green Valley, and that is that there's a lot of people that are sitting around and they're talking. You can hear what they say, you can hear how they say it, and those are how you learn how to get in the business. So for me, it's get an office, or at least get into an office, and try to keep your personal and your business life separate. That's what's been big for me.
And I couldn't agree more with what you said there at the end, because when I first got in real estate, we all had a desk. We all sat in a big open area with a desk, and the 5 top salespeople in the office had, there was a pony wall that ran about this high, and there were 5 desks over there. Those were for the 5 top people in the office. But I came to the office every day. I had no business. We also didn't have cell phones when I started. And so everybody had a phone on their desk, and they were paged overhead if someone called them. So I used to get on the phone and call my really good friend and say, hey, call me back at this number and ask for me, so that my name would get mentioned a couple times in the office meeting. That's a true story. But we were all right there together. And I'm sitting there, brand new agent, I'm like, oh, I think this person's talking to a buyer. And I kind of readjust so I can hear better how they talk to the buyer, because we were all together, brand new and 20 years experience, except for the 5 top producing agents. And then I'm like, oh, she's talking to a lender. And that was the best education I ever had. And also, I will tell you, it depends on your personality. I've never worked from home because I can't stand silence. I have to have the TV on, and I'll go, oh, there's somebody really interesting on this show. I think I'll just sit down and watch this for a minute. And then someone will call at 11:30 and say, somebody wants to see your property at blah, blah, blah. I go, oh, God, well, I gotta take a shower, I gotta get dressed, dry my hair. I can meet you at 2:30. So I learned the hard way. Get up, get dressed, and show up. Even if you have no business. Come in and listen to people talk and pick up on the synergism that's going on around you. That's probably your best education.
So I'm going to tell you that there was a point in my life where the real estate market had shifted. I didn't feel really good about being a realtor. I wasn't in a good mindset. I mean, I feel kind of like Cher, I've reinvented myself a number of times. Well, if I could turn back time, But I went to an office, and I decided that I needed to either be all into the business or be all out of the business, right? And so one of the brokers I had said, come sit in the bullpen. And I'm like, the bullpen? Ugh. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. I'm like, why would I do that? She goes, just go out and walk out and see who's out there. And so I walked out there, and I could see all of these producing agents that had all of this stuff going on. And I'm like, okay, well, and it wasn't like I didn't have any business, I just didn't think about it, right? I just wasn't in a good headspace. And so I said, you know what the heck? I mean, I'll be out of the business anyway if I don't. So I got myself into the bullpen, I sat there, and what's really kind of interesting, this is about 12 years ago now. Guess who my bullpen mate was in the bullpen next to me? Todd Barton, right? The group that was in this bullpen, out of probably 12 people that were there, 7 of these people are high sustaining top agents, right? And so the whole thing was, it wasn't about being there or them listening to what I was gonna say or any of that. It was about the energy. The energy that was happening, because you see somebody producing, it makes you wanna go produce. And because it's all happening in this area, because you're here, it's amazing how it spurs your business forward. And I agree with Janet. I mean, if I'm at home sitting there working, I'm not at work. I'm at home, right? And I know that we've transitioned the mind frame of that because of COVID, and all of the companies out there have thought about, could I really work my entire staff from home? We're in this office because the mortgage company that was here sent their entire loan processing division home. And so my whole thing is, though, it didn't prepare me to be successful. Being here, being present in any of the offices, I always seem to have a way more productive work day. And so with that, we have space if you're interested.
And there's a good relationship with other agents.
Oh, great point. Good relationships with other agents. You get to hear about their listings. They'll even give you a list of them as you come to the sales meeting. And she's got 7 days to sell that listing, folks.
No big deal, no question.
Anything we've talked about today, any questions that we can highlight on or jump in? Todd didn't just leave because he made a good point. Todd had an appointment he had to rush off to, and he told me about it ahead of time. He's heading home. Anything at all that we could touch on or highlight or explain deeper? Anything? No? No? All good? All good? Anything else you guys want to add to any of the things we said?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you haven't, hurry up, make your reservations for the general membership meeting July 8th. It's starting this time at the Four Seasons at 10:30. And there's a free CE class afterwards. You can't be free. And then also, we're closed Monday, July 4th.
And with that, we'd like to wish you a very happy, safe, and healthy 4th of July, and make it a great week. Sell something expensive that helps.